So this whole Valkyr situation has got a little bit crazy, hasn't it? Pablo said don't panic, and a large portion of the community did the complete opposite. But it has brought the bigger issue to the forefront, health tanking and how armor turns to paper past a certain level. While at the same time, health tanking is a much higher investment, takes way more mods, and performs worse than what shield gating does. So when Valkyr's rework drops, if our initial response is to shift to shield gating, then what was the point in removing her invulnerability, since they said that was to play more into her armor and health tanking, I guess, narrative. But also on last night's dev short, Rebecca said that they are listening and still working on Valkyr's rework behind closed doors and testing her in order to make her feel as dynamic and powerful in high level content as possible. Adjustments are still being made and will continue to be made after the rework actually goes live based on player feedback. So we'll see how it is when it actually drops. But Rebecca also spoke a little bit about health tanking since it was brought up on the dev short and what needs to be fixed in order to support that playstyle. So there is hope for those of us who like big tanky frames, myself included. I'm not a fan of shield gating, I like my tanky frames. Now over the last few days there have been some absolutely incredible community ideas for giving armor, maybe an armor gate similar to shield gate, to a brilliant idea I read where they suggested dividing armor and health into segments on a health tank, where you can only lose one segment of health every half a second. It would basically give health tanks a chance to react and reposition or heal. So say you had an Inaros and his full health was 8,000, he would basically have 4 segments of health instead of just one big health bar, and enemies could only burn one of those segments at a time. So it would kind of give you a chance to reposition. Now, they could also cap the amount of damage that enemies do past a certain level to a percentage of your health so that it doesn't cross a certain threshold and it doesn't instantly nuke you. There are multiple ways that DE could fix this, and I'm sure they're well aware of them. They don't need me, with my limited knowledge, telling them how to do it. Now, shield gating was first introduced to Warframe, I think, in update 27 back 5 years ago, or 27.2. It was added to prevent a huge problem back then with one-shot kills from enemies in high-level content by granting players a brief window of invulnerability when their shields would be fully depleted, when their shield would break. It's a system similar to games like what Borderlands would use as well. Now, before shield gating was added, and with the mods we had back then, missions like sorties would be an absolute struggle for certain Warframes. Enemies would just dome you out of the blue, you'd be full health, and then bang, you're dead, you're done, that's it. So shield gating was added to counter that. Now, they never really addressed health and, I guess, armor tanking, but I am happy that it's been acknowledged now as something that needs to be heavily looked at. Now, if you're new to Warframe and you don't know what health tanking is, it is basically where you will maximize your armor and your effective health, your effective hit points, to absorb damage through raw survivability. Basically, your armor will reduce incoming damage, meaning, say a Warframe has 900 armor, they will gain roughly 75% damage reduction. That's according to the Warframe wiki calculations. To sustain this, your build will need to heavily rely on mods like Steel Fiber for armor, Vitality for health, Adaptation for stacking damage resistances. You might end up having to use multiple Umbral Formers on, I guess, higher tier builds, alongside maybe some healing tools like melee weapons with healing return, arcanes like Arcane Grace, maybe certain subsumed abilities on your Warframe to give yourself some form of consistent health regen, or give yourself a different form of damage reduction, whether you give yourself crowd control like Gloom to slow enemies down, or something else that's basically going to mitigate a little bit more of that damage you're taking. And even when you've got all of that done and you've got a lot of mod investment on your build, you've got the best arcanes, health tanking will still struggle past a high level enemy, say level 350, 400 and so on. You will still take big chunks of damage, unlike shield gating, which offers guaranteed invulnerability windows by spamming abilities and using the Orga mods. Health tanking demands heavy mod investment and a reactive playstyle to stay alive, making it a kind of a bad choice for endurance content where enemy damage will scale exponentially. If you take the Valkyr Prime rework with Umbral Fiber and Vitality and her new Warcry, which is going to give you 3 times the amount of armor than what the one does right now in game, she would hit roughly around 94 to 95% damage reduction and around 18,000 effective health points, which sounds incredibly tanky, right? However, a single high-level heavy gunner can melt her in 2 seconds in that state. Meanwhile, shield gating builds can just laugh at that, press a button, and reset and keep going. So shield gating is just superior. Now, of course, her paralysis is going to slow enemies down, which is also going to help with, I guess, the damage reduction. Then you can put on mods like Adaptation, you can put on a different ability, you can put on Null Star, Omamori, you can put on Eclipse, any amount of other things to help keep her alive just that little bit longer Now, of course, it is worth saying that Valkyr is still going to be a steel path monster for 99% of players. This kind of health tanking debate, it is a bit of a level cap niche issue, where Warframe's, I guess, level 9000 community, which is the smallest and probably the loudest and also very passionate, so their feedback matters. It's them that are given out because they used to use Valkyr for certain endurance runs, and now they're not going to be able to do that to the same degree. For the rest of us, for the guys who don't go to level 9000, the guys that just do steel path to all the normal missions, she's going to be absolutely fine. There's going to be no issues. So do DE tailor to those, or do they tailor towards the guys that do the endurance runs? It's going to be kind of hard to get a balance in between the two, because if they go fixing armor and making armor more powerful and giving it kind of a damage reduction state even higher than what it is right now, then other Warframes in the game are going to be probably even harder to kill as well. So how do DE go about addressing health tanking in game? They're going to have better ideas than me, and most of you guys in the comment section and watching this video will have much better ideas than me. They could add armor gating for specific Warframes that have got higher armor values. So once you would cross a certain armor threshold, that would give you a kind of gating mechanic similar to what shields give you. They could add a enemy damage cap so that if an enemy was going to one-shot you, then it won't. It will leave you at 10% health instead. They could replace shield bars on your Warframe with an armor bar. So Warframes like Nidus, like Valkyr, like Inarus would have an armor bar above their health, and that would have the same kind of buffer or the same kind of gate than what shields does. Or they could rework enemy damage scaling, but that's basically like rebuilding the Orokin Empire. That's going to take a lot of manpower and a lot of time away from future projects instead. So I doubt that's going to be a thing that they do. But there is plenty of things they could do. I do like the idea of some of our armor-based Warframes having an armor bar instead of a shield. That might be quite nice. But let me know in the comment section below how you would go about fixing health tanking in Warframe right now. I've seen some absolutely incredible ideas over the week being shared by the Warframe community, but I do feel like something has to be done. She is getting an heirloom skin, she is getting a rework to go with that heirloom skin, and it would be kind of unfortunate if it was to be tainted by the fact that maybe that invulnerability being taken away is causing more of an issue than anything else. But at the same time, like I said, I really like my tank frame, so I am being incredibly selfish, and I do want them to look at health tanking and maybe put it into a better spot than it is right now, more for my own personal gain than anything else. So the best thing to do is keep being, I guess, vocal, keep sharing your feedback on what you think of Valkyr's rework, and of course definitely with the health tanking as well, because that's something that the more people give feedback on that, the more, I guess, prone they will be to actually fix it. So let me know in the comment section below. Have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.